7 p.m. and I'll call the special council meeting to order. Given what's on the agenda, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Being none, we'll deal with reports of committee and staff, and it's predominantly bylaws, the implementation of fees and charges. Sorry. Mr. Shelton, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have one addition. Mr. Paul Joly will make a deputation regarding the residential water rates. That's bylaw 2015-54. It's on your agenda.
Thank you. And therefore, what I should ask that the agenda be amended to include that, and given that this is a special council meeting, that might require a 2/3 majority.
No, it's just items that are on the agenda.
Okay.
This is speaking to an item on the agenda.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Councillor Sponga, seconded by Regional Councillor. All those in favor? Good. So we'll entertain okay, so we do have 4 bylaws. We, given that we have a deputation, we'll deal with 2015-54 separately first. And I'll call on Mr. Joly to come forward. And you're permitted up to 5 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, councillors. I'd like to take a minute, or 5, to comment on the report from Development and Infrastructure Services, in which they recommended the implementation of advanced water metering infrastructure for Newmarket homes. As you may recall, I have taken what some might say an unhealthy interest in the manner in which residents in Newmarket are charged for water and water infrastructure. Now, if I were in the camp of those who believe in conspiracy theories, I would have questioned the fact that shortly after a few days after my deputation last year, I received a call from someone in the water department telling me that my meter was not registering correctly and that a serviceman would be coming to my house to install a new meter. But not being particularly paranoid, I preferred to believe there was no tie-in with my comments before council and that it was just a funny coincidence. I can now report after installation of the new meter, I experienced an immediate 20% increase in water usage, and this held for the full year. I can't imagine a reason for using more water this year, so must put it down to a different reading with the new meter. So based on my admittedly small sample, I can concur with staff recommendations that all homes be retrofitted with the new water meters. In your 5-year plan, you're projecting annual decreases in water consumption, but if my results are typical, you should actually experience healthy increases in revenues upon installation of the proposed new meters. We won't be using more water, it will just look that way. You may recall that my issue last year was the unfair application of the fixed rate charge, monthly charge of $28. This fee is levied with no regard as to whether you are a conservationist or just let the taps run 24/7. While I appreciate that this levy has been frozen for 2 years, I notice it is scheduled to start increasing again in 2017. Your report states that you propose no increase in the base annual charge in 2016, and increase in subsequent years to ensure that the base fixed rate becomes 33% of the average residential customer utility bill. May I again suggest that it should be easy to levy a charge that is exactly 33% of each consumer's bill and not an average of all residential customers. I'm no computer programmer, but I suspect that a couple minutes of coding could achieve your desired effect. Even with my new meter showing increased water use, the fixed rate portion of my bill will come out to 45% this year. Apparently my water consumption is not average, and I will continue to provide financial support to those who consume more water than I do. So who are these residents that I'm subsidizing? Do they have pools in their backyards? Do they have in-ground sprinkler systems on timers that run every morning, even when it's raining outside? What about investors who like to cut up single-family homes and create multiple family dwellings, but are drawing water from a single meter? And why is it that Newmarket Hydro is able to provide a bill with 6 line items which vary month to month and are all based on my electrical consumption? Maybe we could ask them how they are able to achieve this. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of clarification? Motion to receive, Councillor Sponga, seconded by Councillor Vague. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Well, yes, we're voting electronically this evening. There we go. Okay, that passes.
Just a question, we should ask you before we voted. Could that be referred to staff for a response, or would that be appropriate?
Sure. All right, we'll take that as a direction to staff rather than modifying the motion. Okay? Thank you. Regional Councillor.
Yeah, and I guess, and I appreciate Councillor Spahn, that's the same thought I had, is if we could get some information on that. Is staff in a position to comment at all now on any of the information that was raised, particularly about the concept of targeting 33% on a bill-by-bill basis as opposed to on an average basis, and how difficult that would be to achieve?
Mr. Mays?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to start off with the concept of if we were to, every bill was to be 33%, the fixed charge would be 33%. That in essence would mean we would no longer have a fixed charge. We'd go to a fully variable rate. There's 2 components to the water bill, or to our water costs. The one is the flow through of the cost from the region, which varies based upon use. That represents approximately 50% of the water bill. About 1/3 of the cost is for asset replacement fund, and the remaining 1/6 is the other operational costs. I would actually state things the opposite way, that the person who is using not as much water is being subsidized by the person who actually is using more water, because the flow-through costs are covering more of the fixed costs than just the flow-through costs. But regardless of the amount of water a person used, the infrastructure still is in place for them to use that water or not use that water. So I know an analogy has been used previously as to a gas station. Well, you have to drive to the gas station. Here we have the water right at your door. However, we did recognize going into the 2016 that the infrastructure in place can vary by the type of user. And that's why we're going to a tiered water rate for the fixed monthly charges in 2016, so that the larger water users who also have larger infrastructure in place for them, they have the larger pipes, the larger meters, will be charged substantially more. And that is actually what's offsetting some of the cost increases in the fixed charges. So we haven't got to what could be a theoretically perfect rate where all variable costs are covered by variable revenues and fixed costs by fixed. We landed on about 1/3 would be an appropriate measure to go. We also know that there is a trend within the region and perhaps in the GTA in general to move towards a fixed charge. I know this is something the region has been looking at as far as the wholesale cost to us as well. Anyway, those are some of the thoughts and considerations that are put forth in coming up with the current water structure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So, do we want to deal with all bylaws individually, or is there any other bylaws that we'd like to deal with separately?
Move the bylaws.
Move all the bylaws, okay. Is there a seconder for all the bylaws?
I'll second.
Councillor Kerwin, okay. Any? All those in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. Confirmatory bylaw. Councillor Sponga. Councillor Kerwin. All those in favor? Well, prior to adjourning, there is just one item that I did want to raise. I wanted to, those who are watching to know that there will be a drop-in open house, public information center, regarding the strategic priorities that Council has established. And all of members of not all members, but members representing each department of the municipality will be there. It will be a drop-in open house session that starts at 4 and goes until 8 o'clock. But I do also want to say that the regional councillor and myself will not be able to attend until later on in the day, as we're going to be downtown meeting with the Minister of Transportation. So we will be there, but we will be there later on. So that one discretionary item. So now a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, on that item, may I ask a question?
What is the format in terms of council? Is it like a walk around, or will we be taking questions directly?
Mr. Shelton?
It's 4 hours.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is a drop-in, so for members of council, you can be there for part of it, all of it, and in terms of where you might want to locate yourself, there are a number of tables that are set up to deal with different matters, such as council strategic priorities. There will be the municipal energy plan table, Central York Fire table, how to access information, information for the public, one on finance and financial controls, and then there will be a center area where residents can fill out information, requests or ideas or what have you. So that is the format. It's understandable that, there's a lot going on at this time, so if you can make it for part of the drop-in, that would be great. If you can make it for all, that would also be excellent.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn then?
So moved.
Okay, Councillor Hempel, Regional Councillor. All those in favor? And that is carried.